All right, we're up and running. So, finally glad to get together with you and discuss a variety of topics. It was strange that you approached me and asked to be on my podcast after listening to me and my brother talk. And I generally just shoot out a bunch of random shit, just a bunch of random questions. And my brother's the type that he will just be like, okay, well, that was an extremely interesting question. Let me pause and think about that. So it's interesting that you approached me and you enjoyed that conversation. So I appreciate you being on today, and I hope this goes well for you as well as it does for me.
And same here. I'm glad to be here.
Good. So before we get started, can you give my listeners an understanding of your background?
Oh, I've been called an irascible gadabout. I don't know what that is, but I don't think it's positive. I'm 20 years in the Army, 13 of it in the intelligence community, and enjoyed it so much that I got out and started working for various government agencies, uh, doing the same thing in ever greater and larger capacities. I'm an operations guy. I'm not so much of a tell them what to do. I'm kind of the guy out there helping people along to do it. Uh, Along the way, I spent 4 years in Iraq and a year in Afghanistan, a very long year in Afghanistan. Had a great time because it was probably the most satisfying work I've ever done. It had real world effect, and
How so?
then got done with that, came back and did some more work for some agencies, and then the whole time my wife stayed here and took care of the home, the Harley, and the dogs, and I traveled back, and finally I just had enough of the DC area and decided to come home, and spent 5 years, no, almost 6 years, doing consulting work, and lost my wife in January of 2021 to heart disease, and cast it around to see where Rick 2.0 was going to show up. And I've always enjoyed writing, but I didn't have a technique. I dove into art for a little while and won some awards for that amazingly, because I don't think I'm any good at all. I was just doing stuff I like.
Yeah.
And then one day I picked up a short story I'd written in 1993, and it just didn't work. And I grabbed the idea, trashed everything else, and it worked out. And then the Revolution book showed up off of a conversation I had with a senior officer at like 1 in the morning in 2008. And it just kept rattling around in my brain. So I figured, well, what does it do? I'm a process guy. I like processes. Good processes are great. And after about a month and a half, my concept of a process-based theory or framework for how revolutions start and how they propagate and how they terminate, I started bouncing it against real-world revolutions in the past, and it worked every time. So that was exciting, because up here, I'm still little Ricky Hoppe from Villa Ridge, Missouri.
Okay.
A town of maybe 350 people, and it now has a stoplight. Um, so it along the way, and I live here in Central Texas with my wife, two rescue dogs who you're liable to hear. If the doorbell rings, you'll hear them.
Sure.
And a rescue cat that doesn't realize that she's really a cat, and enjoying the last part of the life, just having a good time.
So you definitely
Except for,
don't sound like you're coasting.
it's amazing. Everybody says I can't wait till I retire and I can slow down.
Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, you can slow down. I know guys who retired at 38 were dead at 40 because they just slowed down, and their body goes, yeah, if you're going to slow down that much.
Right.
And so if I keep this up and that theory holds true, when I'm 95, I'll be on your podcast.
Fine. Yeah, I'm glad that we'll have try to have you back. No, that's one of the scariest things. You hear about these guys that get into retirement or looks forward to retirement. I got somebody in my neighborhood that swears he's going to retire at 50. He's got 3 young girls, and he's got to get them weddings and college and all that stuff. But who knows what kind of money he has? But if he thinks he's going to retire at 50, what are you going to do after that? You hear about the crazy guys that, work their asses off their entire life, and then they hit retirement age 2 years or not even 2 years later, they're dead. It's just like they just stop activity altogether. It's like they've got to keep moving and keep doing things. So your story is great.
I've got a friend of mine who he was a door kicker extraordinaire, what they call a pipe hitter. I mean, he was if he sees this, he's going to yell at me because but he was just a badass
Yeah.
and one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. But he finally had enough. I mean, your body can only take so much of that stress, and he found himself waking up in the middle of the night. His heart rate was running 135, 140, just spontaneously. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm done." He builds birdhouses,
That's
and
probably the calmest thing you can do.
Yep, and every 6 months, when the garage gets full of birdhouses, he goes out to his property and burns them, and starts building new ones. And I'm like, that's the most counterproductive damn thing I've ever seen. He's like, I like it. Fuck you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. It's not my life. It's yours, buddy.
Well, they say that you take all the repressed anger or anxieties or whatever, and you put it into something, and then you throw it away, burn it, crush it, destroy it, and that's like you getting rid of it. So maybe he's got a shit ton of stuff to process out.
Knowing what he's done, yes, I would imagine that he's carrying more baggage than American Airlines. I swear.
Yeah. We'll say the pipe guy's usually just smacking the door. He's not the first one in. Right?
Yeah, he's not much for being a point guy. He really is. He's a support guy, and he's kind of an intelligence liaison in the team, and that's how we kind of ran across each other. Good guy. Well, that in Iraq we couldn't get a hold of booze, but their compound always had a bar.
Strange, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's not who you know, it's what you know. Or what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, tell me a little bit more about your time in Iraq. Why was it so rewarding for you? What were you doing there specifically that just triggered that in your memory to say, I was doing good deeds over there?
Well, I spent a career working solo because I'm just not a real easy guy to get along with when it comes to getting the job done. I've got a T-shirt that says I can fix stupid, but it's going to hurt.
Right.
There's a way to do things, but there's also, you don't have to follow the book all the time. So it just bothers me. So as a result, I spent a career doing that. And the job I was doing at the time that the Iraq thing kicked off, there are jobs that have a useful shelf life, and I'd stayed way past that one's useful shelf life. Right. So it was really time for me to go. So I'd been over to Iraq a couple of times working for that company as a field support engineer, it's got a couple of funny stories to that. One of which is being able to walk into the tactical operations center that my daughter was running, and she had no idea I was in Iraq.
Really?
Yeah, it was really funny. It really was. But I got out to my team, and there were some good people on that team. And the guy who was running the team was having problems meshing with the command. I mean, they didn't know how to handle contractors, and the mission wasn't defined very well. Definitions are really important to me. Let's define this so everybody knows where we are.
Right.
I call it my mission GPS. If I don't know where I'm at, I can't figure out how to get to where I'm going.
Right.
And then he left, and the team just kind of languished. And I sat there for about 2 months, and I was doing nothing. And so I went to the regional guy, in the regional command, and said, "I'm going to do stuff." And we started doing things. Then at one point, we lost a guy to an IED, young guy, and the team. And he was a military guy. And the military teams and my team were kind of working together because they were very young and they needed some mentoring. They didn't know how to process that. It was an issue. So I kind of been through it before. So it was helped them get past that. So right off the bat, I think I had a positive effect there. But we also found the guys who set the IED and took them off the street. But
I hope
I
you
was
took
at
them off the
Anaheim.
planet.
I'm sorry.
I hope you took them off the planet, or at least put them a little further down on the ground than the planet.
And no, unfortunately, we weren't allowed to do that, and I'm not going to prison for anybody.
Yeah.
It's not worth it for me. If you don't actually touch a member of my family, you get to stay alive. Maybe if the yeah, we took them off the street. I mean, but what got me was they were just a couple of farmers earning some money.
Oh.
They weren't ideologues; they were just farmers, uh, and that got me to thinking. I actually had a good relationship with the guy who was in the local Al Qaeda affiliate.
Oh, really?
We knew we were enemies. I knew who he was. I didn't have enough to be able to do anything about it. He knew that I was gunning for him, and if he made one wrong step, I was going to take him down. And he was okay with that. We understood what tasks we were assigned in life. But then they pulled me up to senior staff to be the special advisor up in the headquarters intelligence staff. I say I worked on Petraeus' staff, but there's levels, and I was like 2 levels down. So
You were in there.
I saw the boss, and I briefed him every once in a while, but I didn't work directly for him in any capacity. And we did things that shut down hostile reconnaissance that was doing things like firing. We were under fire all the time, missiles, mortars. We were able to take them off the street. That saved lives.
Mm.
But we are also able to do things like address causes. A lot of these people are doing it because they're dirt poor. $10 a day is a rich man for a lot of these people. And the Al Qaeda would come in, or the Jaish al-Mahdi, the Shiite militia, would come in and pay him $20 to go fire off a rocket out of their backyard and then bury the tube.
Oh, really?
That's a lot of money for them. So that was I know that we saved lives. I can't quantify it, but I know that we saved lives. But we also took some bad people out of circulation. Some really Al Qaeda was also, unfortunately, a magnet for psychopaths who could talk about ideology or religion. I had a guy actually tell me in interrogation, "You must understand, if I see you when I get out of here, and I will get out of here on the street, I will kill you. Not because I hate you. It's just what I do."
Right.
Yeah. But and the guy, he never did get out of there. Well, until we actually left. I don't know what happened to him afterwards.
Sure.
Um,
Doesn't that upset you, though, to make it feel like you're playing by a different set of rules than they are? They know that you're a soft American. You have diplomacy. You're just going to say, okay, well, this guy's clean. We're going to keep him for a while, and then we have to let him go. He's just chomping at the bit to take his shot at you. He knows that it's a different world out there. He sees you out in the real world. He's not going to think twice without taking you out. But you're in here playing soft pity pat with him because of the way your government operates.
Yeah, well, you feel like you're playing softball in hardball league sometimes, and the pitches go whizzing by you, and you're like, "What the hell is that?" But I have found that in the field that I'm in, there are executive orders that directly address what we can and cannot do.
Yeah.
And they're very limiting, and they are, honest to goodness, you cross this line, you die, you go to jail. Do not pass go. However, it just forces you to do things the right way. You can't take any shortcuts.
Sure.
I've never found that it has kept me from doing the job. It has kept me busy because I've got to go, instead of going straight to get the job done, I've got to go through these hoops, this chicane, this roundabout, and then this roundabout, and then I can get there. But if you jump through the hoops, you just accept that it's the way it is. The executive orders were put into place because in the past, my field was out of control and violating constitutional rights uh, as a matter of course. So we earned that, and then this next thing is that you just have to be bold enough to get out there and do the job, which is it's hard to do because the two things that the left hates are the military and the intelligence community, and they always have. It's an ingrained thing. Uh, Natural
Yeah.
enemies.
I say they're natural enemies because you're infringing on the rights of people. Now, those people are typically bad people who do bad things, but they're still people. And I've always had the philosophy that if that bad person is caught doing bad, depending on the level of degree of badness that they've done, then action needs to be taken appropriately.
Mm.
And I'm of the eye for an eye society. I miss the Wild West of I'm going to handle this right now. There's not going to be a trial. There's not going to be the long, drug out process. Um, so, yeah, I can see how they would be the enemy of such diplomacy and such practices as the military uses.
Well, and I've got a friend of mine who's a liberal, and he's just a very thoughtful, good guy. And he's an old school liberal. David and I have had wonderful conversations, absolutely wonderful, and said that we disagree. There is a guy out there who, arguably, I probably saved his life in Iraq, who won't talk to me because we disagree politically. So you've got that's therein lies the tragedy in
Yeah,
all of this is the extreme tribalism, the extreme drive to the extremes. Uh, I have a relative who is she's gay and she's an activist and that's fine, but I can't ask her questions because she immediately goes to you're a right winger, and I'm really not a right winger. I'm not.
right,
I'm a I would play center on the football team if I was playing football,
right.
big time. So it's it's unfortunate that people get these preconceived ideas. They live in those ideas and they can't afford to let go of them. But on the other hand, people in my business, there are those that who I would trust with my life, but not around my kids. They're just you have to understand people's lane in life, and some people are not fit for polite society or
Yeah.
even in polite society.
They,
Excuse me.
they tend to take everything directly. There's no ifs, ands, ands, or buts. There's no feelings involved. It's just a
Yeah, you tend to grab onto the mission statement and get real linear, and you're going to run right over people. Just
yeah,
boom, I'm going to go right. And that's a hard thing to avoid. Not a hard thing to avoid. It's a hard thing to school yourself against because you see the mission, the mission is right. It's righteous. It's the right thing to do, and it's legal. The process leading up to it has to be navigated,
right.
and that is uh, after years of being an operations guy. When I got pulled up to literally sucked up to senior staff, I found out I liked processes, which was really a mind blowing thing for me. How can I like processes so much when I'm a big bad guy that no, I like processes. They make life easier and make things possible.
As I say, that's one of the reasons that you and I are talking today because you approach things through a process standpoint, and I'm in the same situation with work right now. It's the process that I can't stand because there is no process. There's a semi process and there's really no order. It's literally get into work, utter chaos until 1 in the afternoon, and then it turns into another fire drill, which is utter chaos on top of this chaos you already had until you try to get that done before you go home. So you and I are on the same wavelength as far as being a process engineer, so to speak. So talk to me about the processes that you you use and why people default away from those processes, and how you think that makes sense in their brain not to follow a set ordered path.
Um, let's see. I'm from Texas, so we're all about analogies. So I'm coming up with the. Actually, there's not even an analogy. I'll give you a direct example. Um, when I, all right, I'm going to have to pull back here. In 2008, I was working up there on staff in Baghdad, and General Petraeus would have his commanders meeting at midnight. He'd get his battle update brief at 10 at night. Then he would get the commanders together and plot strategy and where things were going to go. So we hung out until that meeting was over because they would often come up and from his office and have these taskings, and quite often they had to be done the next day. So we called them drive-bys. And so we wait for the drive-bys. And I was sitting up there one night, and the boss's meeting was taking a long time. There were some really horrible things going on. This was during the surge, so it was everybody was getting hammered. The militias were on their last gasp and doing whatever they could. And this senior officer, this colonel, who was out of the Department of the Army Intel section, came walking by and was talking to me, and we had some mutual friends, and he made some comment about the insurgency, and it didn't make sense. And I said, it really does. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, Mao's got this theory about 3 phases of revolution, and this fits right dead into the center phase. And he goes, you need to write that up. Well, okay. In my copious free time, I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and at 54 years old, that's not real conducive to a fat man. So, but I went ahead and wrote it up, and it didn't go anywhere. There were just so many other things going on that theory was not something people were into. But what I found was that processes define everything. And not only that, but when you break something down in a process, it is annoyingly simple.
Sure.
It can't be that simple. It actually is.
Yeah.
All right. Why have the Iranian people not risen up in revolution? Organization.
That's it.
That's it. They don't have. When you think about every revolution, there was a pre-existing organization or an organizational schema that popped up or that arose during the revolutionary process that managed the entire revolution. All right. For example, the Russian Revolution. In 1905, they decided to modernize. They brought all these peasants in and trained them in factory work. And the trade unions popped up because there's assholes out there who are running some of these factories, and that was the only way to protect the workers' rights. So when the Reds, the Bolsheviks, decided they were going to do a revolution against the Tsar and his entire government, they already had a pre-existing organization that motivated people, communicated with people, planned actions, and the revolution fell in on that. The Iranian Revolution in 1979, they fell in on the pre-existing religious organizations, and that became their communications, motivation, cooperation, coordination, all that fell on that. The Iranian people now do not have anything that's popping up. They are trying to bring the Shah's son back as a leader, and the Shah's son, though it probably is just a great guy, he's a businessman and has been for 30 years. He doesn't have an organization. He's a businessman. Yeah. They don't have the ability to use a religious organization because that's what they're actually fighting against. So you've got, I would say, probably 75% or 80% of the Iranian people, they just want freedom. They just want to be able to live their lives without that kind of worry and that level of restriction. After 9/11, the largest pro-American demonstration uh, in condolences to the U.S. The largest by far was the streets of Tehran when over 1 million people turned out.
Hmm.
Uh, the Iranian people are very westernized, they're very modern. Uh, so it's all coordination. There are other little things that got to happen, but if there is no organization to be able to guide them through and do the communication and coordination, it's just not going to happen. And right
So,
now, they don't have anything.
so all I see right now and what I'm envisioning from what you're telling me about is that they're all just a bunch of ants scattering, running around. When
Yeah.
they could get organized and essentially fight back and destroy the enemy, correct?
In actuality, yeah, essentially that is correct. Everybody wants to be the daddy. All right. There, if you've ever been involved, like for example, in youth soccer, my daughter played youth soccer from the time she was 6 through college. And in youth soccer, there was this tension between what's called club soccer, which is a youth soccer league that is outside the school, and school soccer, because the head of each one wanted to be the soccer daddy.
Yeah.
My church, there are some people that want to be the religious daddy, the guy who runs Bible study or whatever. It kind of bores me. If you want me to do something, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to stay here and build my birdhouses.
Right.
That is what's going on in Iran right now. Is there's a lot of very capable people, but there is nobody standing up who goes, "What we need to do," and everybody go, "Uh-huh." All right, because you have 20 people saying what we need to do. You still get 100,000 people in the street, but there are 5 groups of 20,000 people. All right. So as a result, and there is some. It took me 3 tries to get through freshman algebra in college, so I don't know what it is. But there's some mathematical principle that if you have 5 groups of 20,000, what you actually do is you have 20,000. That is their total effect. You don't have 100,000. It just looks like it. So the number one rule is revolution is not spectacle. Revolution is progress and work.
So it's participation is what it is.
It's yes, but it's participation as a group. Right now, people are participating because they're individually pissed off. And the other thing is legitimacy. The U.S. has taken out probably 3 levels of almost every bit of the government. There are domains that governments inhabit. You have the economic domain. You have the force domain, which are the military and police. You have the elites. You have the government domain, the systems domain, the information domain. All those things function within a government in some fashion or another. We have taken out 3 levels of leadership for almost all those domains, and they're still getting the job done. They still retain governmental legitimacy, and legitimacy meaning that the government can do what it says it needs to do and what it says it wants to do. They're still collecting taxes. They're still running the police force. They're still watching out for women walking around with their hair uncovered. They still have the military. They still have the secret police, and their economic engine is still running. It's
in the midst of war.
Yeah. So as a result, you can't bomb your way into a revolution. You just can't. And they're finding that out. Now, I don't know what the actual goal was, so I'm not going to presume to know what the inside baseball side of this, of the Department of War. But if the goal is to give the people of Iran an opening to be able to rise up, it's kind of like baking bread and not putting any yeast in.
Right.
And you can stare at it all day and it's not going to rise.
It's not going to move.
Not going to move at all. The yeast, whoa, I just created an analogy that I am going to use. The yeast is that organization, that scaffolding, I call it, basic framework that the revolution can then inhabit, fill in, and They don't have that,
Okay.
so
So
they don't have any. Go
based
ahead.
on what you're telling me about Iran and your processes, your knowledge of processes, do you think that application of revolution could be applied to the United States? Do you think that we're on the precipice of one, the need for one? Do you think it could actually work? I got a follow-up question to that, but uh,
Uh,
do you think revolution is something that would happen here or could happen here again? Or
it
need?
can all, yeah, it can happen to any country. And here's something else that people don't like me to say. Almost every country is somewhere on the spectrum of revolution at all times. Uh, Stage one is incubation. And that's where general grievances, I don't like this, and man, the taxes are too high. Yeah, but but look at what I get for the tax. Well, whatever. I'm going to
Yeah.
go fishing. When the general grievances gather together and they become extremely loud, you're in incubation. We passed stage one. Uh, I would say somewhere around the COVID years,
Sure.
about the middle of the whole COVID thing, as we passed through stage one. Stage two is organization. And that's where general grievances, you have affinity groups. So you've got Republicans against Trump over here, and you've got Black Lives Matter over here, and you've got La Raza over here. And they gather people together and they start multiplying their effect by the fact that they can turn 10,000 people out into the street. Uh, the Chinese are doing a really good job of advising a lot of these people on how to organize under the guise of we're just wanting to help.
Yeah.
Um, and and it's not like the people are Chinese sponsored and may not even realize it, but it's something the Chinese have always done. The Russians used to do it really well, but right now they're a little occupied.
Yeah.
So that's stage two. Stage three is activation, and that's where you start seeing coordinated action against the government. And we have passed that a few years ago, where these organizations, Queers for Palestine and Free Palestine, Islam is not tolerant of gay folks. It's not at
Right.
all. It's actually a death sentence. Uh, and then you have the Free Palestine people. Look, I'm not going to argue the whole Palestine thing. I'm just not. I have my opinion. Opinions are like buttholes. Everybody's got one and they all smell. But they're working together. That is the epitome of activation. And on top of it, then we have for example, the Antifa folks who were just sentenced here a few weeks ago for an attack against the border patrol facility in Alvarado, Texas. Just, oh my gosh, 70, 80 miles north of here.
Yeah.
So that's not the only attack. So you have, and they have very good communications and very good communications discipline. So they have the coordination. So we're well into stage three. Stage four is the tipping point, and I call it rupture. It just kept on coming to me, and that is where the opposition, and I've titled them, there's not left, right, and center, because you can have right-leaning revolutions, you can have left-leaning revolutions, either one. But what I've got is the traditionalists, the moderates, and the radicals. The traditionalists want to keep everything the way it is, whether they're on the right or left. The moderates are saying, yeah, but we have to compromise a little bit. And then the radicals are going, no, change it all. So in this case, when the radicals, and they're prepping to do this, they're getting ready to try to do this, start splitting off to the point where they openly want to state that that the government is irretrievable, irreconcilable, and that they must replace it. That is the definition of revolution, is replacement of a governmental system with one of their choosing. When they actually take the steps and they put up secondary governmental functions That is stage four. And after stage four, nothing will ever be the same.
Mm.
Even if that's as far as it goes, it's reached the rupture stage, and we are teetering on the edge of falling into rupture. Could it end up happening here? Okay, Rick, the prognosticator, says no, and it can't,
Mm.
because right now the center is staying out of the fight. They want to be left alone to do their
Right.
job, to do what they want to do. The center has 400 million guns.
Right.
The center are rational and not crazy folk that you'll see on the right or left.
Right.
Uh, the center are all about freedom and really understand it. Unfortunately, they haven't been activated yet. When we hit rupture, the center is going to start popping up. And
Yeah.
somewhere between rupture and the next stage is collapse, is where actual governmental functions, legitimate governmental functions, collapse, and the radicals are the only ones running any governmental functions. We're not going to hit collapse. It's just not going to happen, because the center is going to stand up and go, "We're done. All right, we're done playing with you. Get out of the roadway. You don't get out of the roadway, I'm going to run you over." And then when they get hauled in front of a jury and the jury goes, "Yeah, not guilty," called jury nullification, the world changes in that instant. The entire world does.
In
Um,
in what way? In that there's no there's no right and wrong anymore. We think that everything is corrupt. If this
um,
mass populace is going to bring these people to what we believe are our our jury amongst your peers and amongst your peers, but yet they still get off scot free. Is that revolutionary plot still going to be? We believe these people are in the fucking wrong, and they need to go. But we bring them before you, and you say, well, we kind of know these people. We've known for a long time, and they've given us a lot of money or whatever. We kind of owe it to them to say they're okay.
in the greater scheme of things, it has nothing to do with money. In the greater scheme of things, however, when I first got into this business, my first job, duty location, was in deep in the Southwest, uh, and the first operations officer I worked for, Tom, and God rest his soul, was he was such a mentor. He was an incredible teacher, and he sat me down and he said, "The very first thing you need to keep in mind is who benefits. That's what you everything you have to benefit. You have to decide, figure out who benefits. Everything falls from that." So now we look at this. The center are not looking to be enriched. The center is wanting to be left alone.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. If you want to protest, we'll drive by all your protests all day, no problem. But you're keeping me from getting to work. I'm going to get fired if I don't make this delivery. My kid's waiting at the school. Uh, you lose. All right. All you had to do was not be crazy. The crazies on either side. This has nothing to do with ideology.
Right.
Are willing to push the people on the other side who are also on that spectrum. For example, if somebody doesn't like what I'm saying to you and they want to cancel me, good luck,
Right.
because I don't shut up. I'm not going to. I refuse to. You want to take away my X account? I don't have one.
Yeah.
You want to make my Facebook account go away? Yeah, I've lived without it before. Life's a bear. You want to keep me off of podcasts? It's Saturday, dude. I should be doing stuff that my wife wants me to do. So, the center is the key. The center is the key to a revolution. Once you have engaged the center and activated them, then you have a real problem.
So do you
Then you
think?
have an
Sorry, sorry. You do have a real problem. What I'm thinking is, are they continuously trying to drive into the center and divide up the center? Are they slowly picking off people so that, oh, you got to be a right wing extremist, or you got to be one of these blue haired idiots that believes only in feelings and no rational thought? Do you think that are using mechanisms to continuously try to drive into the center and just part like the Red Sea? Or are the people
Um,
in the center
yeah,
still strong-willed and smart enough to realize that I'm not falling for that shit?
everybody can fall for something, and I'm going to use two words: data centers.
Okay.
Now, here's right now there is a huge mobilization going on of the centrists against data centers. Huge and growing. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. One is that data centers are big things, and if they're built cheaply, they infringe on people's peace and enjoyment of life.
Yeah.
The number two is governments lure in data centers because all they see is, my God, there's a lot of tax dollars there, and maybe other dollars. But so they're making deals without really consulting the people. Number three is there is a huge Chinese information operation funneling information and recommendations to some of these organizations. Do I have proof? I don't. But
What's their purpose?
just to slow down the whole data center thing, because right now, the world war that's going on is AI.
Yeah.
All right, is use of AI. I did some experiments with AI, and I am shocked, but I feel the same way about AI that I do about governmental restrictions on intelligence operations. You just have to figure it out. It's not it's not going to take over and lock you into your house, and it's not going to do all of that. Now, could it in the future? Possibly, maybe. I don't know. But right now, uh, I'm no good at proofreading my own stuff. I have four books and a screenplay in the works right now. So I'll write and write and write and write and write, and all of a sudden look back at it and go, man, does this make any sense at all? So I try to proofread it. I read what I intended to write. That's what I actually kind of see.
Right.
I take it and I dump it over in AI and say, check my grammar. And it comes back within 30 seconds, and it's done the entire 15 pages of check grammar and spelling. And, it's a great tool. Like many other tools, you could be turned against you, but it's a great tool. So, but right now, the Chinese are ahead of us in AI adoption and research. But we need data centers because it's a massive, massive, massive amount of data. Um, so if they can slow down the adoption of data centers, they can slow down the U.S.'s adaptation and research and use of AI. We have really good people in the center who don't. AI or data centers have light pollution problems. I mean, it's like 10 football fields without the bleachers keeping the light from getting out, the
Right.
stands from getting the light from getting out. So it's this glare on the horizon. It's a nasty looking place because they don't have any windows.
No.
It's got barbed wire fences around it. It's got guards.
Yeah.
So it looks like you've stuck a prison in the middle of a town. Um, and it uses a lot of water to cool.
Right.
And people, for some reason, think that once it uses the water goes away. We can't. It disappears somewhere, which it really doesn't. But it doesn't matter. Public perception is reality in this case. So and it eats an enormous amount of electricity. So
Oh,
people are the saying is it's going to raise our electricity rates. Well, no, it's not. It just eats a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
But that's what's going around. So all the Chinese need to do is kind of feed these things. And people are out there actually trying to bar data centers. Now, I I don't know what your feeling is about data centers, but without them, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation. Without them, your smartphone would be a stupid phone. Without them, your Facebook account would be a chat board at best.
Right.
Without them, your news, I get my news on the smartphone in the morning while I'm drinking my coffee.
Sure.
I have not turned on a newscast in 4 or 5 years. So people don't understand that the very thing that you're using to organize is one of the first things to go away. because governmental functions are going to use what data capacity there is. People don't understand that when they say bandwidth, bandwidth is the big limiter. Uh, if there's bandwidth for 1,000 people to be on a fiber optic line, number 1,001 is going to have to find another place, another way to get his internet connection. It can only go so far. You can only do as much as you can do, and you can't do no more. Rick's rule number 6. So, yeah.
So how many of these data centers need to be made? We have 2 of them going up here locally, and they're ginormous. And you'd think that puzzle piece has got to help hundreds of millions of cell phones operate, but it's just a small little chunk. So how many of these things really need to go up? I have mixed feelings about them as I don't know everything about them. So I had no idea there was Chinese involvement. I know you're speculating, but it's probably, knowing what you know, it's probably a good indication of it.
It's informed speculation.
Yeah.
Um,
So how many need to go up, and what's
right
our
now,
limit?
thousands. But here's some interesting things. Number one, a data center is large. It's got to cover a few acres, at least, probably 10, 15 acres. It's bright. It eats electricity, and it uses water. The reason why it does all of that, which is a problem, is because that's the cheapest way to build it. So everything becomes profit. However, the Swedes have modular reactors that you can truck that thing in, put it down, and they're on their own grid. There is no connection to the consumer grid. So there's the power thing. The cooling can be done in a couple of ways. There is a power plant up near where I grew up, where the electric company came in and dug out a lake. And they use groundwater that's in the lake, and they just keep reusing it and reusing it. It gets hot, they dump it back in to cool down, and they pull in fresh water. But you also have things like closed loop cooling systems. So there's the water use problem. The light pollution problem is there's a thing called bulldozers that can dig big holes in the ground, and you can put it down under the ground. So what lighting does it need? You need your parking lots to be lit for security purposes, and maybe some security lighting along the perimeter, but that's it. You don't have to see the thing at all. Now where it goes, there are fiber optic lines all over this world. Yeah. There are fiber optic lines. There is no difference between the location of a data center in Montana than there is one right outside of Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
There's no difference. So I talked to a guy who was on the corporate staff at a place called Firefly Aerospace. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Okay. They actually have a lander sitting on the moon right now collecting data for NASA. I mean, they are an honest to goodness space venture company.
Yeah.
They are in Briggs, Texas. Briggs has maybe 150 people in it. It's a wide spot in the road of Highway 183.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm talking to this guy, and I said, whatever possessed you? He goes, Briggs, Texas, $63 a square foot. 30 miles south in Round Rock, $600 a square foot.
Right.
He said, it doesn't matter. Data is data. It takes literally 1.5 nanoseconds longer for data to get into his computer than it does if he was sitting in Round Rock.
Right.
And he says, I can't measure nanoseconds. All right, so you pick the most inhospitable place. You dig a big freaking hole that is expandable. You put in a couple of modular or pebble bed reactors on a closed loop
water system.
Ta-da. It suddenly. So what's the big difference? If you do that, the only people getting rich are the ones in that immediate area. That's where the tax dollars are going to go, where the people that work there, where their salaries are going to be spent. If you spread it all over the country, you spread the goods around. It's who benefits? That was the question that needs to be asked. And the question is the local bigwigs and politicians. Who benefits? The guys who are going to build the thing because they can build it cheap.
Right.
Swedish modular reactors are not cheap. Digging a big hole rather than just putting up concrete walls is not cheap. A closed loop cooling system is really not cheap. It's
Yeah.
easier just to pull water through and dump out the hot water.
Right.
And so, again, you have to go back to first causes, and that would be who benefits on that. So the Chinese don't have to do anything. They're not paying these people. They're not sending, there's no Chinese agents skulking around in the, there isn't any of that. There is people who have a righteous cause, excuse me, that don't like it, weren't consulted on the build and location of these places. And they're saying, no, you're not going to do anything until you come talk to us, because we, the people, are the primary movers and shakers according to the Constitution. They're overwhelmingly centrists. They'll be on the right of the spectrum, on the left of the spectrum, dead center, middle, doesn't matter. They're overwhelmingly centrist. So as a result, the center is being motivated and getting a little angry. So
can you go back to your 5 steps? Go back to 1 and 2. What were 1 and 2?
One is incubation, and that's where you are you're mixing the dough together, and you're just throwing in the yeast, and it's all mixed together. And if you've ever made bread, that you get to that point where it's already that is incubation. Yeah. All the elements are there. They're starting to activate, and they're coming together.
Okay. And then
that would be incubation. Step 2 is organization.
Okay.
And that is, again, I'm an analogous son of a gun. It's again like bread, because one of the things that bread does as the yeast is forming is it forms gluten. And gluten is what binds things together so that you've got the ability, when you slice the bread, you go to spread something on it, it just doesn't crumble. Then that's gluten. That would be the organization where like-minded people gather together under their cause or their variation of a cause and begin having taking actions, whether it's sending nasty letters or an email campaign, or showing up at local public hearings or marching in the streets. That is the classic example of organization, is that they're doing a little motivation, they're getting people out, but they are, instead of, I have little 5 people sitting here that meet at my house and we're all angry about the prevalence of left-handed screwdrivers. Yeah. I'm going to get 1,000 people together because we don't like left-handed tools. And now 1,000 voices beat the heck out of 5 lonely people standing on a street corner looking like idiots. Now I have 1,000 people. You can't ignore 1,000 people.
But I feel as though we have ignored a lot of things. Keeping with your analogy of bread, I work in a giant bakery. I'm the guy that mixes all the ingredients and adds the yeast last, so it has a chance to start eating or chewing up on the sugar last before we freeze it. I know that if we put that in the freezer, it will last up to probably 2 or 3 days at the most before that yeast is still consuming. It's just at a slower rate. So these people that are all gathering and organizing and screaming and yelling and doing their protests, I feel like it's just old hat. I feel like it's all gone by the wayside. Like there's so many of them out there that bitch and scream. That it's like, oh, okay, someone's over there screaming about something else. Someone's over there screaming about something else. So to me, they're the bricks. They've organized, they've put all the ingredients in, but there's such a small amount that dough brick has now gone to shit.
And it can. And that's one of the, wow, we're going to take this analogy out to a ridiculous, however accurate conclusion.
Saturday morning bakery time. Let's go.
So, and you're correct, but here's one is if you are not getting anything done, if you don't have any feeling you're accomplishing anything, you're not going to stay. If you can get out there and say, I don't like left-handed screwdrivers, I'm going to stand on the corner with a sign saying down with a left-handed screwdriver.
Yeah.
And after a few days, I'm going to go, yeah, I'm going home, man. Yeah, this is bull. If you've got 1,000 people standing on street corners screaming down with left-handed screwdrivers, I'm being reinforced in what I'm doing, and I feel a sense of satisfaction, so it's going to last longer. But here's the other side of that. In any local or state government, if you can get 1,000 people to vote one way, you have a voting block and people are going to listen. And people ask me about it, and I'm like, okay, do you remember back several years ago where veterans were spending months waiting for promised medical care and dying on waiting lists? Probably 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It was blamed on Obama, and it wasn't Obama. It was bureaucracy. There are 7% of the U.S. population are veterans. If you can get 7% of the U.S. population to vote in any one direction or another, you have massive clout. That is a massive voting block. Why aren't we all voting together?
Yeah.
Well, because we aren't organized. We're all veterans. We all talk the same language. We tend to clump together, kind of like red blood cells. Yeah. We tend to clump together and seek out our own because we all speak the same language and have the same unspoken language. The same thing goes with most things. You'll get people who protest, but they're not organized. Remember that thing about organization, scaffolding. They're not doing that because nobody wants to spend the time or take the time out of their day to do that. I'm active in my church, and I'm retired, and I still don't have hardly enough time to get done what I want to get done there.
Right.
So it's the analogy on the bread works to a certain level, but only when you view revolution in the life cycle of the bread. Beyond that, the analogy pretty well breaks down. But that is the key: is organization, mobilization, and to do that, you need a clear philosophy. I want to tear it all down. Right? People don't understand that. A revolutionary doesn't care if he tears it all down, as long as he can rule over the rubble. That's it.
So that's the idea. He just wants to rule.
He just wants power. Yeah.
Ask him. He can run it better.
Ask him. I was reading the other day. Somebody had compiled a lot of quotes from a lot of left-leaning academics, and the sum total of it is, well, just turn it over to us. We know what's best for you, and we'll take care of you. And they firmly believe that. They honestly believe that, not realizing that I don't need you to flip and I don't need it. All right.
Isn't that the theory of every politician that enters Washington? I believe that any person that goes into any type of political realm is just looking to increase themselves in the power chain. They love to feel that power. They love to feel walking into a room, everyone knows who they are. Everyone's going to kowtow to them, bow down to whatever they say. Just they want that power.
Oh, and you've hit on something. There are politicians up there whose philosophy is to serve the people. There are politicians up there who are pure narcissists, and there are politicians up there that are going, yeah, I can make a lot of money doing this. There are politicians up there who think, you know what? Everybody's stupid, but I'm smarter than everybody else. And I'm going to tell you what's good for you. Shut up. There are all those. But if you take a look at these categories that I've listed, one of them is altruistic and saying, I'm going to do what's best for the people. I'm going to try to figure that out. The others are all in it for some level of satisfaction that is self-oriented rather than externally oriented.
Well, I've lost complete belief in a politician. I think they're all corrupt. I mean, we're approaching 90% of them. So those good people are just kind of scooted out of the room, or they're having the backward conversations or back room conversations without those people. And the people that are self-interested, narcissistic people, like Ted Cruz, or you name it, you can name just about more politicians that are bad and corrupt than you can the good ones. So where does that lead people who are getting into politics? I feel like there's going to be a point where they hit that wall or that limit, and people are going to say, okay, well, you come this far, good job on you, but you got to start doing for yourself and for all of us collectively, or we're not going to let you play the game at all.
Wow, I didn't want to get this.
Too deep political.
This no. Actually, I live in deep political. I just wrote a book on it that is about the use of politics, the weaponization of politics. Uh, I've got another book about the use of AI in the weaponization of politics. That's I'm working on. The fact is that number one, if people don't get off their ass and vote, back in Missouri we called them jaybirds. Jaybird will sit on a fence line and shriek at you all day long and won't do a damn thing.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, that's jaybirds. It's not what you say, it's what you do.
Okay.
All right. It's not performative, it's action. And that's the key. I was sitting in the garage smoking a cigarette and watching the television, and the city council meeting was on, and I was yelling at the city council meeting. And my wife said, if you're so damn smart, why don't you run? And I did. And I won.
Yeah.
Literally, I was sitting outside drinking tea with my wife on election night. I wasn't watching anything. And the newspaper called me up and goes, so how's it feel? I'm like, what? He said, well, you won. And I literally said, well, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
I didn't figure it. I found out that I got more people sucking up to me. A city councilman in a town of 35,000 people. There's people sucking up to me, but I also had death threats.
Really?
And yeah, my wife came walking in one day and I was yelling at the phone, sounds like a lot of work. I'll be outside. And I get death threats and I ought to beat your ass and, stupid shit. So first off, why would a good person put up with that? They have to be very driven somehow to put up with that. Number two, once they have achieved whatever level, you mentioned Ted Cruz. You know what? I think he's probably a good guy. I think he probably is. I wouldn't have him in my house. I just wouldn't. Just something about that every time he opens his mouth, my auditory nerves go. But he's very sure of his own intellectual prowess. Maybe more sure than. It's not that he's lying. It's just so much of what he believes happens not to be true, in my mind. I believe that he's living in that world, and that world is a bubble, and it's also reflective on the inside, so you really can't see out very much.
Yeah.
So, what we have to do is we have to incentivize them. You want to live up there? I don't have a problem with you living up there, in your little tower. But if you don't do what we say you need to do, then you have to go away and we'll bring somebody else into the tower and let them live there.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
No.
We gripe, we moan, we yell, we scream, we make death threats. I've had real people try to really kill me with real guns. I'm not scared of those people.
Right.
But death threats have actually caused one. There was a Democrat politician last week who admitted that his yes vote on a proposal was because of the number of death threats he was getting. All right? That we don't hire for moral courage. We hire for popularity.
Yes.
Or whether they fit in with our tribe. So we have to action these people, and actioning means I've got 1,000 people in my group, and we all vote the same way on this one issue. Your choice. You either do what we want you to do, or we vote against you the next time. Uh, Whenever you hear somebody refer to, "Wow, you're a single issue voter," that's a really kind of pejorative, kind of insulting thing. Why?
That's how
Uh,
things get done. That's like your instance of processes. It just takes that one simple movement that passes, it goes to the next thing. Another simple movement, move on to the next thing. So yeah, that makes sense.
well, see, here's the deal: is you and I are single issue voters. We have different single issues, and we have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
That you can have multiple single issues in your mind that are tripwires. All right. See, what's a single issue for me? Uh, Rights. Everybody has the same rights. Jealously guard the fact that you have certain inalienable rights. And if your rights are violated, I think the government should come down on you like, if you violate somebody's rights, I think the government should come down on you like the fist of an angry God, uh, and make examples out of people. But on the other hand, everybody only has those rights, and those rights only last as long as they don't infringe on the rights of others. All right. So it is a dancing act,
Yeah.
but we have a sliding scale. Um, the number of people who have committed crimes up in Washington, D.C. in the last 15 years or thereabouts, the list is long,
Hmm.
and it's known and it's proven. Not a one of them's been perp walked. Not a one of them's gone through. No, I take it back. John Bolton actually was tried and sentenced. That's one. There's dozens of others that have
Absolutely.
committed known crimes. If I committed that, if I had taken classified information out of my facility and put it on my server at my house, I would be popped for violation of the Espionage Act,
Right.
for mishandling classified information, and I would have been arrested, I would have been tried, and I would have been jailed.
Yeah.
All right. There is a certain politician out there that gets to walk out scot free. The special counsel said that he would not recommend Joe Biden for mishandling classified information because he was an amiable old man and no jury would convict him. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's
Say,
not your
yeah,
job to say the jury wouldn't convict him. The job is to make sure that the law is fairly and equally enforced.
correct.
I agree. The jury probably wouldn't convict him, but you have to say that the law is the same for everybody. It isn't now. And it doesn't matter whether you're right or left. If you're on that elite level, then the laws apply to you differently.
Yeah. So don't you think every person that goes into politics is working their way up, trying to get to that level to where they're just untouchable? Everyone loves me. I can say and do whatever I want. I'm going to get senator status or governor status and just use
Yeah.
up taxpayer money, travel here and go there and say whatever I want. And as long as it comes back to supplying my constituents with the right things at the right time so I can get reelected, that's my
And see,
end
yeah,
goal.
it's all motivation.
Yeah.
And I've got to admit the idea. I have worked. I worked a thing where I was considered to be quite an important person, which I debated. But going to when I traveled, the embassy would arrange my lodging at the best hotels that were affordable, and I get picked up at the airport and driven to where I got to go, and then driven around, and it's a very seductive lifestyle.
Mhm.
For somebody like me, it's very irritating and very limiting because there's always somebody hovering.
Right.
It's like flying first class on Lufthansa. Every 5 minutes, a flight attendant's going, "Would you like some more smoked salmon, sir?"
Right.
No, I want to sleep. I'm flying into Frankfurt. I'm going to land at 6 in the morning. I need to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, so it's smothering, but it's also very seductive, and it can get into their mind like a little worm that burrows in and says, "You're important."
Right.
All right. I have 12 rules of operations and 104 rules of life. Rule number 4 is you're not important. The mission's important. Get over yourself. All right. If you have to play the game to get the job done up in DC, better you than me, but thank God there's people going to do it. You hear about the same about 10 or 15 politicians every day. There's 435 of them up there. I would say most of them are just trying to do the job, but they're not willing to play the game enough to be important.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that the trade-off? If I want to get this bridge built, my constituents really want this bridge built, but I've got to put up this for you and that for you and play ball with you over here just to get that one project done. Meanwhile, we've added to the corrupt shit that's taking place in Washington over here just so I can get my one little project done. I just feel like that's all the backroom stuff that just goes on in Washington. But that is the only game to play. There is no other game. That's the only game to play.
And that is correct. It's always been that way. Teapot Dome scandal. There, if you research scandals in the 19th century, political scandals in the 19th century, some of them were just freaking insane.
Yeah.
And we look at what we got going on, but the corruption, the influence peddling, the political maneuvering, underhanded and in the open, they've been going on for 250 years, about 200 something like that.
Yeah.
200 and what? 241.
Right.
Since the Constitution was ratified. So if I've got to swim in a river of shit to save my kid, I'll swim in that river of shit.
Sure.
Gladly. I'll bitch about it afterwards, but I will do the swim. If they have to play that stupid game to be able to get anything done, which they do, then it all goes down to how moral and ethical and how much integrity they have personally, and can they retain any of that at all. And I would venture to say that the system's actually set up to break that down, because they don't want moral and ethical people up there. What was his name? South Carolina, kind of a weird hairdo, former prosecutor. I can't remember his name.
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
He did 2 terms and said, I'm out of here, because he can't put up with the crap. Incredibly effective.
Right.
Some of the clips of him are, he just tears people apart. If it doesn't make sense, whether you're on the right or left, he would tear you apart. But we got back to organization. Do we organize, and do we use the inherent clout of the vote? Donald Trump and I have the same political power at the ballot box.
Yeah.
1 vote. The difference is that Donald Trump has got 1 million people who are waiting to see what he says and are going to vote that way.
Yeah.
And that's going to be more than that, but let's just use that for an example. Rick has got nobody out there going, well, before I cast my vote, what would Rick do? Nobody's doing that.
Right.
But if you put together the organization and you can walk up to the local politician and go, see these 1,500 people here? This is our stand. This is how we're going to vote. Decide, and decide wisely.
Don't you think there's just so many of those occurring in the United States? Like 1,500 is a small number, and to the whole scheme of things. But don't you think there's so many groups that are out there saying we are important, our votes matter, you need to change, toilet seats need to be thicker, we want toilet seats to be thicker, and 1,500 people are griping and bitching about it? Is that really important enough for the senator or governor to go, you know what, let's start moving in that direction? Meanwhile, you got another company or another group of people over here that are 1,800 saying we want toilets that are shorter and we want thinner. What's he going to do? Is he going to sway to the 1,800, or is he going to sway to the 1,500? Then you got another group over here that wants a completely different thing. It's like there's so many groups. I mean, what motivates the higher powers to say what is important and what gets chosen.
A few weeks ago, there was a series of primary elections in New York, and the socialists swept them. They actually beat out long-term incumbent Democrat politicians for the Democrat nomination. Until that happened, the socialists were considered to be quaint and unusual. And okay, as long as they vote with us, we'll tolerate them, but we'll just tolerate them.
Yeah.
Now the Democrat upper echelons are going, what? Huh? What the hell just happened? Now I got to figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. They just had, so as a result, last week they had a major meeting of the Democrat National Committee and made everybody sign a non-disclosure agreement before they could even enter the building. They've never done that before. And the reason why is they're going, oh, wait. We have to pay attention now because they did it. Now, you and I we are a voting bloc. All right. We want thicker toilet seats. All right. Absolutely. And we go in and we go, me and us dudes here are wanting bigger toilet, taller toilet seats. And besides that, we got 1,200 people back behind us. And they're all out there going, more, bigger, thicker toilet seats. All right, we're good. He says, no, I'm going to vote for the thinner toilet seats. And your people go, yeah, screw it. Okay, it's not going to do any good. So I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm not going to vote him out. There is no consequence for going against the will of your people.
Right.
There hasn't been. There are some changes happening. I don't know where it's going to land, but in the end, nobody's making them pay the price. Are you a father?
Yeah.
All right. If your kid is throwing a fork across the room every time you have dinner and does it every time, if there is no consequence, when he's 8 or 10, he's still going to be throwing that fork. Because you don't have to beat him. You don't even have to spank him. There just has to be consequences.
Right.
He has to have a reward and punishment mentality. You emphasize the reward. You provide some level of negative consequence, and they're going to figure it out. There isn't any because we don't follow through. Again, 7% of the U.S. population. So we're talking about what, 21 million, 22 million people are veterans, and with a vested interest in veterans affairs and veterans benefits. For my mind, we don't want extra shit. All right, we just want what was basically promised, and the government hasn't followed through on. But how many of my fellow veterans are getting together and saying, local politician or U.S. representative or senator, here's the things we believe, here's the things we want. 21 million people is a third of the number of people who voted for President Trump in the last election. If you can get 30% of your electorate across party lines, because it's not a party position, it's a affinity group position. Okay. If you can get that many people to vote in any one direction, there's real power.
Sure.
All right. And we don't want to, but we don't do that because I'm standing there and we're going, yeah, we're going to vote together. And the guy looks at me and goes, you like President Trump? And I go, nah. Well, I do. So, and he walks away. That's the way that we do things. You like President Trump? Do you think Joe Biden's a good? Doesn't matter what that is. And single issue, bye, I'm gone.
Right.
But it all shakes out. Somehow, the brilliance of the founders was that it keeps moving forward. Things are not as bad as they have been in the past. We just looks like it because you and I weren't there in the past.
I say every generation has got a doomsday. Oh, I feel sorry for you kids. You're going to grow up in this world, and I can't stand it. My grandkids are going to grow up in this world. And it's just every generation has that same thought.
Well,
For
I
you,
came up during the Vietnam War era, where I became finally politically aware just about the time that the Vietnam War was really ramping up. Uh, and I remember the discussions. My father was pretty politically active, and coming from Central Missouri, he figured the odds he was conservative. And the discussions they had was, oh, it's all going to hell. These kids, rah, 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 rah. you know. Now here I am sitting here going, yeah, it's all going to hell because these kids are. Rah, 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 rah. It's the old men sitting in the corner going, in my day,
right,
Sonny.
right,
Uh, but for example, one of the growing constituency in this country is the under 34 age demographic group, under over 18 and under 34, who are flocking back to church.
yeah,
Really surprising.
huge.
The under 34 group is smoking less dope, smoking less weed, which is really strange because you hear about everybody, all the legalization. But I've got relatives in Colorado and I visited out there, and you go by one of these quote unquote dispensaries, and it's like one car in the parking lot.
Yeah,
There's businesses they're going out of business right left because the desire for it is much overstated. So as a result, as we move forward as a group, as a we still, it's kind of like everybody's leaning in the same direction. Eventually, when you lean far enough, you got to take a step
sure.
in that direction, or you're going to fall over. Leaning kind of in the same direction, and we're getting kind of sick of some of the crap. I would not be surprised to see the Democrats lose badly in the midterms, but I also be all that surprised to see them win in the midterms because the world is a little capricious. God has a sense of humor, and it's he's very much a hey, pull my finger kind of a guy.
Right.
So, or immaterial, I guess. Uh, Man, do I pontificate or what?
It's good. It's good. You're getting all your thoughts out. It's a healthy thing.
Uh, yeah.
But let me ask you a couple of different questions. I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit. You knew when we spoke previous to this that we were going to kind of not keep it all political and all that. But I'm curious to know, in your intelligence agency, how long do your credentials last? How long can you still dip into the pot of the people
it's
you know and top secret stuff and
it's
trivia
clearance based.
information? It's what?
It's clear. It's based on your clearance. I am maintaining current clearance. There are levels. There's confidential or not confidential. There is a basic is it? Public trust, which
Okay.
just basically means you're not going to steal money. There is a secret clearance, which is one level. Then there are the levels above secret. There's top secret. Those are what's called special access programs, where there are there's certain information within the top secret realm that you have access to. As long as you maintain the appropriate clearance, then you have to meet something called need to know. I lived for a little while with my daughter and son-in-law outside of D.C. My daughter worked for an organization that was pretty well unknown. My son-in-law worked for another organization that was pretty well unknown. And then I worked for a third organization. The organization's known, but what I did was really highly classified. So here's a conversation around that table at night. So today at work,
Shit. Uh,
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 never mind.
right.
That was often. However, I gave up my top secret clearance several years ago. I'm just tired. I'm just tired of dealing with it. Still maintain a secret, and you can maintain a secret for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But eventually, through inactivity, and I forget how long it is, they go ahead and they put it into an inactive roster where it can be reactivated just based on a couple of record checks. So, but my credentials when I was a counterintelligence guy lasted until the day that I walked out of my last assignment and I turned them in. And that was the end of that. I can dip into my pool of people that I know
Yeah.
who are very aware of what they can say, cannot say. I'm an analyst. I can analyze what they can and cannot say, read between the lines, and draw some conclusions, which are informed opinions, but they are only opinions.
Sure. Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. So, based on your career in the government intelligence, knowing all that you know, and all the stuff that you've been through, um, and you've observed and absorbed in the world, uh, do you feel as though you were or are on the right side of things? Do you feel as though you were led astray or made to believe certain things, not now that you just don't believe then to be true? Does that make sense? Like, example, a career military soldier who's been in the military conflicts. Does he still believe in the system that told him that he needed to go there and risk his life and his brother's lives? Or does he now see behind the curtain and realize that the reason that he fought and killed was pointless?
Wow.
I've always wanted to ask military people that, and I feel like the more
Okay.
people I talk to, I'm going to ask.
All right. And the conversations that we have among ourselves that we don't have with civilians is because they don't understand and they
Sure.
don't have a frame of reference. So they're stupid. They just don't have any way to be able to rack and stack it into their worldview. 90% of us would still gladly die for this country. We've already made peace with it years ago. We know that it may be needed. It's just we're old men now, and we're not going to be called to do that. There's two sides of that, and I have an illustration. I have stories because I have stories everywhere. When I first went to Iraq, I was living our living area. Our hooches were in the old Iraqi Airways building, and there was no power, and so we just opened all the windows. And then they brought in this generator and this air conditioning unit, which at least kept it so that we could sleep because it'd easily be 110, 115 degrees outside at night.
Yeah.
And sleeping in those conditions is just horrible. But if the generator ever went down, it wasn't minutes before that building would start to cook. All that radiating heat from the outside would start generating in. So one night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, the generator died, which instantly wakes everybody up, and everybody's just groaning. Oh man! I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go downstairs to the smoke pit outside, and I'm gonna have a smoke and wait and see if they can get the generator back up pretty quickly. So I go downstairs, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and there is a group of soldiers who just come in from a patrol, and they were just decompressing, slamming down water, and so they could get calm enough and go ahead and go to sleep. And they're out there smoking and joking, and I'm the old man. I was 54, I think, at the time, and they probably averaged 23, 22 years old, something like that. And I was listening to them talk, and finally I said, guys, can I ask a question? He said, yes, sir, because I'm an old man, so I'm a sir. I said, what do you all think about this mission here? What is your thoughts? And they almost broke my hearts because every one of them turned their heads and looked at their sergeant simultaneously. Evidently an extremely good sergeant, extremely good leader, because none of them said a word. They looked at their sergeant.
Right.
And he looked at all of them, and he looked at me, and he said, well, we've talked about this. And remember, this is June of 2003, right? The invasion took place in March. And he said, we figure these people deserve a chance to be free and to live their lives. And if we got to take a chance on dying, we're willing to do that. These people he was maybe 25, 26 years old. The rest of them were below 22 or 23 years old. They'd already had this conversation. We believe, but then we turned around and then uh, they gave it all away
Yeah.
because, well, they didn't have a clear mission. Uh, but they just gave it away, all away. I spent time in Afghanistan. I saw some horrible, horrible things. I saw a man who was literally thrown into the gutter to die because he wasn't of use to his family because he lost both legs in the war.
Mm.
So they literally threw him into the gutter to die, literally in the gutter in Kabul, in a city. Uh, uh, Street children. I have a picture with me and the street kids. Every one of them is probably dead, except for the girls are probably now wives, forced. Um, it was horrible. And all of that death and all of that destruction, screw the money. I don't give a damn about it. All of that was thrown away. And I don't care about the equipment that was given over. I don't care about any of it. It was just thrown away. But up to that point, we had some feeling of there was a purpose. And it turned out that the purpose was given away. So, do we feel that we get used? Yes, we do. Blatantly. Sometimes openly. Do we hate it when we get used? Yes. Then why do we do it? Because we believe in the idea that somebody has to do it. We believe in it to the point where it becomes our identity.
Yeah.
All right. I was born and raised in Missouri. I've lived in Texas for the last 38 years. I'll always be a veteran, and I would die to protect this country in a heartbeat. And pretty well everybody in my circle all feels the same way. Do we hate the fact that we get used? Yep, absolutely. Do we talk bad about them behind their back? Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Sure.
All right, Donald Trump. I like a maverick. Somebody's got to shake it up. He's a good disruptor.
Right.
Wouldn't have him in my house. Not at all. I got no use. He's a bore and a boor and crude, and I don't give a damn how much power and money you've got. You're an asshole.
Right.
But it wasn't that he was the best candidate for the position. He was the best candidate running at the time, because the Democrats screwed up their possibility. I'd vote for a Democrat in a heartbeat if he was sane. The sane ones don't seem to rise to the top. I don't understand it. Did I answer your question, Lane, or did I just dance all the way around the bush and not touch it?
No, you kind of danced around it, but I kind of understand where you're coming from, and I get it. I guess the major thing I'd want to press you on is, yes, you were being used, and I'm not some left-wing guy. I'm not some right-wing guy. I'm just a guy in the middle with questions. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I just don't understand how you could devote yourself to the strong military career and still be all about, rah, 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 United States, when we do such twisted things to get other parts of the world to like us, or we try to get into areas to get minerals, or there's gold there, or there's oil there, or there's some other form that we're in that area for. So let's just use our people who we've programmed to say, I would live and die for my country, as you say. And I just want to know, at the end of your stretch, do you feel those people still had your best interest, or were you just willing to go forth and just do what you were told, is what I'm asking, I guess.
No, there are many things to unpack there.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the idea of a robotic soldier is, let's see, what's the term? Bullshit.
Yeah.
They're all thinking most soldiers could qualify as a master in a trade at the level of knowledge that they've got.
Sure.
All right. I've got a master's degree with honors
Mm.
and two bachelor's degrees. I had a guy with a PhD working for me running point and breaching doors.
Sure.
There was nobody. The guy who worked the third in the stack going in the door is a championship ballroom dancer,
Yeah.
right? We are individuals and we're thinking, and it's the idea that we are programmed to do anything. We're not programmed, we're trained. There is a massive difference
Okay.
because the idea of a soldier that doesn't think is, it has long been proven to be counterproductive. Soldiers who don't think are just slugs with guns.
Right.
And when they go against a disciplined army who is trained, then they lose every time. Now, the second thing is do they have my best interests in heart? They have the mission at heart, and that's how it has to be.
Sure.
The
I get
mission
that.
has to be the driver.
I get
Some
that.
of us are going to die.
Yeah.
It is going to happen, and it's tragic. And we use it as an excuse to drink a whole lot of Irish whiskey in their memory. But three of them that are mine,
Yeah.
I think of every day. Is it? Here's the deal. My wife and I had this discussion this morning. You know, we don't have a Department of War. We have a Department of Peace. When was the last time the U.S. invaded a country that wasn't under threat or that wasn't causing a problem? Now, you mentioned about resources. We have never invaded a country for oil. We have more oil reserves in this country
Yeah.
than anybody else. We
Sure.
just choose not to go after them. And when we go after them, by law, they have to be sold on the international market. If they were just sold just within the U.S. first, the price of gas and oil would be much less. But
Yeah.
it has to go out onto the international market by law. You got a problem with that? Don't look at the oil companies. Talk to Congress.
Right.
They make the laws. And I keep telling people that because they go like, oh, goddamn oil companies. If somebody goes in and goes, I'm going to structure this so that you make billions of dollars, I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, no, I don't want to do that.
Sure.
I'm going to go, okay. Like Christopher Lloyd in Taxi. Okie doke. I know it's a terrible Christopher Lloyd impression, but so as far as invading for resources, I've never seen one.
Okay.
I've been in Afghanistan. I've been in Iraq. We didn't get diddle squat for oil out of Iraq. We didn't get diddle squat out of Kuwait when we went in and shoved Iraq out of Kuwait back in '91. We didn't get anything. You know who's in extracting resources in Afghanistan? China.
China.
Yeah, because they just flat go in and just buy it.
Right.
By law, we would help them we would try to help them get their commercial resource reclamation and sales concerns off the ground. But by law, their products have to go onto the open market, and we have to be able to prove it. Now, did some get diverted and some people corrupt? Yeah, people are people.
Right.
Whether you're carrying a gun or not, people are people. But I'm sorry, I just want somebody to come in with proof, not conjecture, proof that ever happened, and I will readily then say, well, wow, you're right, and I was wrong. But I've never seen it. I haven't. We have a tendency to go in and say, for example, I would have handled Afghanistan this way. Gone in, taken their country away from them, get rid of the Taliban, and then tell everybody else, don't make us come back, because next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy, and we'd have been gone in a year. And accomplished just as much as we accomplished.
Yeah.
We keep thinking that we're going to convince Bronze Age societies to turn into Jeffersonian democracies.
Right.
And that the leap is too big. They don't want to be democracies. They want to be Bronze Age societies. So we strive it's one of the basics of Christianity is you can't be perfect. You just have to try.
Sure.
All right. We strive as veterans towards the ideals and realize that some people have to crawl into the mud to be able to get there. Uh, we strive for it, maybe in vain, but it is the average uh, veteran is pretty idealistic,
Yeah.
almost to an unrealistic aspect. That one day, our government will deserve the military that we have. Until then, we just keep working towards it. Uh, because there are bright spots. There are people trying to do the right thing.
Sure.
Uh, we also realize this: if you're not willing to fight and die for what you believe in, you will always lose to somebody who is willing to fight and die for what they believe
Sure.
in. You will. It doesn't matter whether you're right and wrong; you're dead. The ultimate discriminator. So the fact is that it's a vital function, and the unspoken bit is there was a night, an October night, actually the night before Halloween, where me and my partner were sitting on the roof bar of the Hotel Intercontinental in Kiev, Ukraine, and it was unseasonably warm. There was a breeze blowing. We're drinking gin and tonics and smoking cigars. And I just turned to my partner and said, I've got the coolest job in the world. All right. Because we get to do cool stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, demolitions is fun. The
I
biggest
bet.
fireworks in the world.
I bet.
Watching a demonstration or watching a B-52 arc light strike, a four-ship arc light strike, where an entire valley jumps into the air and becomes shrouded in smoke, is frightening, terrifying, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Getting to fire every weapon the military has, just because you got to go out and quote qualify uh, on a range week, is a lot of fun. And along the way, I ran a dive boat in Hawaii on weekends while I was stationed there. I've skied on a glacier in Alaska. I walked the Berlin Wall. I've stood across the line in Panmunjom, Korea, and stared at a North Korean border guard that if I would have stepped over the line, it would have shot me dead. Uh, I've been to Japan. I've been to 87 different countries. I've in Europe. I had a knack for languages. I'm traveled all through Europe, from Scandinavia down to Sicily. Uh, I've got a flag hanging right outside my door that's got the ingrained dirt from 4 different deployments, 4 different wars. And I'm really proud of the fact that I'm mostly still here. I'm getting ready to go in and get some aftermarket parts because the knees are worn out. So I'm going to get some performance parts, maybe get flames painted on them, maybe. So my pride does not overwhelm my logic and my intellect. And my intellect says, sometimes I was doing assholes work for assholes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was. But if you work for somebody, sometimes you're doing assholes work for assholes.
But there's some enjoyment in it.
Well, it's satisfaction rather than enjoyment.
Yeah.
I think that you can use the terms pretty well interchangeably in many cases. But the fact is in the end, I know that we saved some lives. In the end, there are certain portions of the world that are a little bit better. We made them a little bit better. Then the State Department would show up and just F everything up. And then it turned out not to be any better. But there are, I know of children who are alive because of what me and my team did. I know of things that we made better that I can never talk about, but that I'm insanely proud of. And I also know the times where we fell short of who we should have been and what we should have been. And I regret those, but Lane, you seem like a guy who's got a lot of stuff together. Do you have regrets about anything at all in life?
I got,
You know,
I would say
just
quite a few
uh,
directions I wish I would have taken this way and end up taking me this way. And there's always going to be regrets, but you just
there's
got to
always
keep,
going to be. There's
yeah,
always
you
going to
keep
be.
trying moving forward and sludge
It
through. And
it just sounded like I just led into the song my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention.
right.
And I like you enough, Lane. I won't break into song, so
Oh,
not going to subject you to
thank you very much.
that.
Well, on the end of the lighter note here, let's I'll wrap this up so you can get on with your Saturday morning. I usually do a question. I call it into the weeds. Um, just something that I just put kind of way out in left field, and this will just completely take your train of thought from what we just talked about completely the fuck out in other direction.
Cool.
So, have you ever been staring off into the void, whether you've because you're tired or your mind and body just takes a break, and you have something on your mind that has just completely shut down your body, and you become consumed by this ponder? You basically become a mannequin. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where you just kind of go into a daze and you're staring off into one settled direction because your mind is just adrift with a thought, or you're just tired to where you're just staring blankly. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And someone or something walks into your line of view. Now, to the rest of the world, you're staring at a woman's chest, someone's ass, directly into someone's eyes, whatever walked into your view. Um, you're staring blankly at the side of a bus, basically. Is that something you should snap out of and apologize for, or should society be held accountable and either get the hell out of your way or recognize that you had the visual space first and kindly remove themselves from your view without any judgment?
That is an amazing question. I have done this is my 8th podcast, and that is the best question I've gotten.
Fantastic.
That is an incredible thought experiment here. How do I have another book out there that's called "I Looked Into My Soul,"
Okay.
and it's based off of the "Be careful that you look into the abyss because the abyss may be gazing back at you." Um, but I do that sometimes, and I have actually been accused of, "What are you looking at, asshole?" Nothing
Exactly.
actually. My feeling is people need to kind of get over themselves. My feeling is dude, you were moving, I wasn't. All right. So if you have an issue, suck it up, buttercup, and move on. Uh, but at heart, I'm not a nice guy. So let's keep that in mind.
Okay.
Mm, wow. I'm sorry, but I have a hard time giving a shit what inconsequential people feel of me. I really do.
Yeah.
Uh, it has manifested itself at one point, even called a general stupid in a generalist council, and that was an oops on my part.
Bet
Or
that
no,
went
I,
over
I
well.
didn't call him stupid. I called what he said stupid.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, I just don't give a shit enough about what people think. I've got a
Fantastic answer.
T-shirt that says "I like dogs, guns, and 3 people,"
Yeah.
and it's almost true.
Yeah.
Um, wow, you got to spring the question first, and then let my subconscious work on it to the end. That is a great way to do that.
Okay. Well, I'll
Uh,
let you ponder it. Maybe we'll get back together and you'll have an answer for me.
oh man,
I
I'm
I appreciate the answer if you just don't give a shit what people think of you. I think that is got to be your extreme focus in the world nowadays. Because I tell my wife, I tell basically anybody who listen that people aren't looking at you. They don't give a shit what you're doing. They may give you the glance, judge really quick, and if you're in tune enough to see them judge you, then it affects you. But in general, you look past that, and people don't give a shit what you're doing. I go to the gym all the time and I do the strangest fucking movements. And my wife says, "How do you get away with that without people doing X, Y, or Z?" I'm like, I don't care. I just don't care. They're not looking at me. They're looking at themselves in the mirror. They're wondering what everyone else is looking at them for and all that. So I appreciate your answer.
yeah. It just reminds me very quickly that my daughter's now 46 years old. But 12-year-old daughter was squatted down in the kitchen while I was working on. I was making supper one night, and telling me about this one girl at school who was spreading rumors about her and yada 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 yada. And she went on and on and on about how much distressing it was. And she told me here a few years ago. She said, "Dad, do you remember what you said?" And I said, "No, I don't." She said, "You turned to me, stopped what you're doing, and looked at me and said, 'Is that a friend of yours?' And she goes, 'No.' And I said, 'Well, then why do you care?'
Yeah.
Then why do you care? There are probably 8 or 10 people in this world whose opinion I value. Everybody else, I would rather be on your friendly side, but in the end, I just don't care.
Right.
If you're inconsequential and you made yourself inconsequential, if you are going to come storming across a public square and yell at me, 'What are you staring at?' You're inconsequential. You by definition, in Rick's mind. There's probably a Latin term for that, but I don't remember what that would be. Wow, that's a great question. You're going to kick my. I'm going to go down and have some coffee and talk to my wife, and I'm going to pop that question to her, and we'll spend the rest of the day talking about this. Oh my gosh, that is great.
Well, fantastic.
I like getting pushed. I don't like people who spend every time going, "Oh, that's an awesome answer." Push me, man.
Yeah.
Challenge me.
Fair enough. Well, now that we're going to wrap this up, I want to ask you: is there, if people are interested in you, is there a place they can go check you out, or do you have anything coming up you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, my book, 8 Stages: A Primer of Modern Revolution. It's a new framework of how you assess revolutions, how they progress, and how they terminate. Is due out from Kohler Books on August 11th. It's available for pre-sale on all the book outlets, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, etc. I have a website, wordsbyrick.com, all one word, wordsbyrick.com. It's just got the other book that's out, the projects I'm currently working on, and it's soon to start. All my Substack writing, all my essays are in there, and a contact form. If you think I'm full of crap, let me know. I absolutely want to be challenged on my opinions and my stances, rather than one day going competently into something only to find out that I was wrong all along.
Completely wrong.
Yeah, so I'd rather be right and a little chagrined than wrong and self-confident any day. Yeah, and use the contact form there and hit me up with anything you want to talk about. I've got another book coming out, which is a historical fiction novel, and then a third one that was starting out to be a thriller. But a friend of mine talked to me, and it's turning into we're going to pitch a screenplay on it, and we're going to see what happens.
Cool.
So I'm extremely busy, and if anybody can tell me how you can get a poor traumatized rescue dog to quit peeing in the house, I'd really appreciate it, because I'm running out of ideas.
Oh man, that's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah. So anybody listening out there who I've done everything.
Yeah.
And I can walk out the door and 15 minutes later come back from the store, and I just can't figure it out. And getting rid of her is not an option. So
good.
We gotta no. In my house, it's a lifetime commitment.
Yep.
However, Pepper, yeah, she's staring at me right now. She's doing that side eye.
Yeah.
What? Not me. It's been great, Lane.
Good.
What a wonderful conversation. I have really enjoyed this.
Thoroughly enjoyed myself on a Saturday morning. This is the conversation I look for when I come to, situations like this, interviewing people. That's why I got back into podcasting, and it's nice to have spoken with you. So stick around. We'll wrap this up. I want to talk to you real briefly after we end it. And I hope everyone goes and checks out your website. I'm excited for that book. It sounds like a real interesting sociological experiment on why people do the things that they do. So
yeah, I specialize in writing and discussing people in societies under stress and how they act. And I don't know how I fell into that, but that's where it's at. And it is fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating. So I'm looking forward to feedback from people too. Engage me. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm good with it.
All right. Well, Rick, I appreciate you on a Saturday morning. And for that, we'll wrap it up.
Excellent, Lane. Thank you so very much for having me on. Yep. You're a great host, and going to be going to be a 5-star review this time. Yeah.
Cool.
No
Thank you.
tip. No tip, but a 5-star review.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Bye.